Today we're going to look at a little thing that happens in Buleria where people tend to get really lost in the compás, and we're going to try to find a way to make you not get lost in the compás while you do this. This figure, phrase, thingy that happens all the time is what I'm talking about. And I think that the reason people get lost so much is that, first of all, you're not changing the harmony, and you've got all these little trills going on, the index finger on the first string, and it's just easy to get lost in the compás. So I'm going to show you a right hand pattern that should help to just keep you right in compás the whole time. But the other thing I really encourage you to do is to just listen and memorize the sound of this. This is really how we learn music. We hear something enough and then it becomes natural. So if you think about doing it with the palmas and you go and you're back in compás, right? At first, it might not feel very natural. I mean, that's not going to happen automatically for you when you're doing palmas. But if you really listen and look for the accents, it'll start to feel more and more familiar. So that's really the first thing that I recommend for this in anything, is just listen to it until you've really memorized it and you feel like you really know it. And then you figure out what to do with your hands to make it happen. One of the confusing things about this is that there's really two ways that this is commonly started, and neither one of them is the most common way we start most phrases in Buleria. So normally in Buleria we start 12, 3, 6, 8, 10, and more often than not your falsetas will also start on 12. However, sometimes in Buleria we start on 1. We do 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, or 1, 2, 3, 6, 8, 10. And this is much closer to what we're going to do. So one of the ways that this will start is 1, 2, 3, 6, 8, 10. The other way is a little trickier. It's syncopated, and you're really coming in between beats 1 and 2. You're doing 12, 1, and 2, and 3. So if you think about it as a pickup to beat 3, 12, 1, and 2, and 3. That's the other way that we might start this phrase and that we commonly do. And so we'll talk about that in a minute specifically as far as what happens in the right hand. But I'm going to play both ways, and I want you to just pay attention to where the 12 is in both cases. So if I'm doing 12, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, 6, 8, 10, right? So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, and 6. Now, we might not want to do the golpes, in which case we get 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. So whether or not we do the golpes, we account for beats 11 and 12 and for the time that they take up. The other way is a little trickier. What we do here is 12, 1, and 2, and 3. All right, so again, 12, 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6. So we're starting either 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, or we're starting 12, 1, and 2, and 3. There's a pick up to 3. Once we get into it, the right hand is doing the basic right hand Buleria pattern that I talk about in the Buleria compás video, and that I think is kind of your best sort of default right hand pattern, which is 12 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10, 12, 3, 6, 8, 10. So what I'm doing is on the accents 12, 3, 6, 8, and 10, I'm doing downstrokes. For everything else, I'm just doing the upstroke on the and. So it's 12 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10, 11, 12, 3 and 1, 6, 8, 10, 12 and 3 and 6 and 8 and 10 and. When we combine the two beginnings I talked about in this pattern, we get 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10, or we get 12, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10. Either way, when we get to the second 12, we just keep going. We flow into 12 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10. And the reason I'm not adding the left hand yet is if you can train your hand to do these two things, regardless of what's happening in the left hand, you'll be in much better shape once we add that in. So the two compás phrases that we're looking at, first starting on 1 and then starting on and 2 and 3, we get 1, 2, 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10, 11, 12 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10. That's the first one. The second is 12, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10, 11, 12 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 and 9 and 10. So after that initial 3, both are identical. So it's really just the run-up, the start, that changes. What are we doing in the left hand? Before we get to these little trills, these little pull-offs in the left hand, all we're doing is we're playing this B flat, which is F, B flat, D, and F. So middle finger, 3rd fret of the 4th string, ring finger, 3rd fret of the 3rd string, pinky, 3rd fret of the 2nd string, index on the 1st fret of the 1st string. So we're doing it. And then we're staying here until 6 of the second compás. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, and 8, and 9, and 10, and 12, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and C, B flat, A. So 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This is C9, B flat, and A. Or you can add the B flat there. So I'm going to do both patterns here. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, and 8, and 9, and 10, 11, 12, 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, and 2, and 3, 6, 8, 10, 12, 3, 6, 8, 10, 12. And then I might go back into compás. Either way, the trickiest part is 10, 12 between the two compasses. We get 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, 8, 10, 12, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, and 8, and 9, and 10. I'm not sure why that is, but that's where people seem to have the most trouble, so really make sure you have a handle on that. And what I would do is just play this. Until it really feels comfortable, and best case scenario, I would say record yourself playing this, listen, make sure you're in compás, and when you really feel like you have a handle on this, then we can add this other stuff in, and that's what makes it this familiar sounding thing. So what are we actually doing here? 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, 8, 10, 12, 3, 6, 8, 10. What we're doing is we're pulling off everything except the pickups to the accented downbeats. So what does that mean? That means that before 3, I do and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, and 8, and 9, and 10, 11, 12, and 1, and 2, 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, 8, 10. Right? So before an accent and 3, I don't move my index. And 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, 8, and 9, and 10, then 12, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, 8, 10. So we do that regardless of how we start. Either last little detail that we can add to this is on 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And what we're doing is basically moving the trill from here to here. The E and the D. So the melody that we get when we get to C is 6 and 7, 8 and 9 and 10. 6 and 7, 8 and 9 and 10. And we start by continuing with our index. 1, 2, 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, 8, and 9, and 10, 11, 12, and 1, and 2, and 3, and 4, and 5, and 6, and 7, 8, and 9, and 10. The way I do this is I actually come up with my thumb on the 8 and. So we're coming from 6 and 7, 8, and 9, and 10. And this, or kind of depends how fast I'm going. If I'm going slowly, I might do and 9 and 10. If I'm going faster, I might just pull off the whole thing. So that's kind of, you'll do to taste or depending on your tempo. But the whole thing we get here now is 3, 6, 8, 10, 12, 3, 6, 10. Or this is still going to take a little practice, but you can do this and you can keep it in compás if you just really keep track of what your right hand is doing first and really make sure that you're getting 3, 6, 8, 10, 12, 3, 6, 8, 10. And resist the temptation to throw in these little pull-offs on the first string until the right hand is really doing the right thing and you know that it's doing the right thing. If you can wait till then and then start throwing in the little pull-offs, you have a much better chance of staying in compás while you do this. And again, I should just point out, so many people do this out of compás, and I hope you will not be one of them. Thanks for watching this. I'll have more little Buleria bits coming up, and you can check out the Buleria compás video for basic Buleria compás or all the Buleria videos to get falsetas and learn how to put it all together.